Welcome to my YouTube video today. Very unusually, I'm not in my allotment or my home garden or my kitchen. We're staying at our friend's Smallholding in Wales, where we have stayed in the annex, which actually anyone can stay in, and I will be putting in the description the links of how to contact them should you wish to stay. They're in Wales, in a very beautiful part near Oswestry. So I'm going to take you around their garden and also their community orchard and go through some of the things they're doing. They're completely inspiring, and I take a lot of the things I do from them, and Will and Bridget have taught me such a lot. So if you haven't already liked my channel and subscribed to it, that'd be really fantastic, and put some comments if you've got any questions. So if we start just here, Will has put down some wildflower turf because he wants to attract the wildlife. So it's what Wales is all about. It's all about wildlife. So as we walk through, we're going to walk up into and see some of the things he's been doing. So, I
don't want to be in the camera, so
yeah. Bridget is hiding. She's a little bit camera shy, but she's very lovely if you do come and visit. As we walk round and we walk up, so they do have chickens and geese, and if we're really lucky we might get to see some of them as we're walking around, or they might decide to hide from us today. They've got various fruit trees and nut trees as we walk through. As you can see, it's a working small holding, so there was always something on the go, bits of wood, bits of fencing, but it is really, really peaceful and tranquil. As we come around, they've got their log cabin with some fruit trees in, and there's fruit trees kind of like scattered around to make the most of all the land they've got. Lots of wood chopping goes on there because a lot of their heating is fueled by wood and also solar. As we walk up, we're going to go into the first greenhouse. This one is heated, and he's got lots more on the go than I have because he is a little bit of an expert. So he's very modest and he won't come into the camera. So lots and lots of things in here. He shows his vegetables as well, but because he's in Wales, he also has to start a lot more stuff indoors than I do because it's really cold. So he's got various garlic and onions. So there's some brassicas there, some sweet peas, some broad beans, some lettuces. So as we come up further through, some more leeks, some tomatoes, peppers, chard, peas, lots and lots of different varieties of everything. I think that's Cosmos, but I've not asked him. I'm just guessing, so I might be wrong. So the first greenhouse we went in was heated, and that's pretty essential when you're in Wales because it's so cold. If you come round, we've then got the unheated greenhouse. And some of the things are in here to keep them warm and also to keep them from the chickens as well, because they've got chickens and geese and they'll kind of have them otherwise. So I've got a nice lot of strawberries. Onions all started off, which will eventually obviously go into the ground. There's some raised beds there, which Will tells me he's going to put in carrots in. And he's got some drums with sand in because he shows he's probably going to put parsnips in those. And we've got some more spring greens just over on the other side there. And also some flowers there, some bluebells and some peonies. Selection bits there.
Trained nectarine, Susie.
Oh, and the nectarine, yeah, I nearly forgot the nectarine train. How awesome is that? So, yeah, it's just a shame I probably won't be here when that's fruiting, but a nectarine tree up there with lots of lovely bloom on it, which is really beautiful. So now we're back outside again. There's various raised beds. There's not a lot in at the moment because obviously no one's really planted a great deal at the moment, but the asparagus is just starting to sprout, and it's been covered to keep it warm and also to keep the chickens off of it because they would probably like to have a good old munch given half a chance. Some raspberry canes there, some beds that are covered that have been mulched and covered, so ready to get planting in. As we move round, so there's some broad beans over there which are looking much better than my broad beans, I've got to say. So it's a shame he's so far away that I can't come up and have someone there juicing. So we move up, there's more raised beds for various things to be grown throughout the year, and then there's some overwintering greens here as well. So a selection of bits underneath the netting to keep the chickens away from them. So my quest this year is to hopefully try and make the vegetable patch chicken safe so they can't get in, but at the moment the chickens can get in, so everything has to be covered. We've got rhubarb here, and there's This is being forced through to make the stems longer and taste sweeter. It's also a little bit colder in Wales, so it doesn't come on quite as quickly as it does in Kent. But as you can see, it's still doing really, really well. There's various soft fruits over there, which are obviously not doing anything at the moment, but they will be. So, and also if you swing round, you can also see the beehives as well, because Will's got his own bees as well. So the honey tastes absolutely amazing, and it's always a really great treat when we come and stay and have some honey. On Welsh cakes, of course. So we've started putting up some fencing to keep the chickens and the geese and everything else out, and the rabbits. So he's going to have that all the way round the allotment part, so that hopefully nothing gets at it. So he's doing a really good job the first time, so hopefully he won't have to do anything ever again, and it will do the job really well. So we're going to move over to the community orchard now, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. We're going to have a walk around the orchard. This is a community interest company that Will and Bridget and a few others set up, and it's here for the community, for people to enjoy the countryside and also to learn from, especially for children. They can come, and there's an area where people can sit and they can sit and relax, and there's little bits for children to play with, like bones from the hedgerows, because kids love playing with things like that. They've nicknamed it Cadbury because the trees are fruit and nut, and also Will jokes that the people that have helped produce this are fruit and nuts themselves. So that's a little bit of a joke there. So we've got some fruits in the borders here, and some wildflowers. So I can see gooseberries, blackcurrants. I believe he's got blueberries in. If you walk up and around, and I will take you over the hills, and we can see the beautiful view as well, which is really amazing. We've been walking every day, probably about 2 or 3 times a day, because it's just so incredibly lovely here. So there's various types of apples, eating apples, pears, also ones for making cider, and various different types of nuts. What they've done is they've planted a wide variety of different types of trees, because it's pretty much unheard of to grow things like this in this part of Wales, because the weather can be quite bad actually. So doing a mixture, you know, there'll be winners and losers, so they'll definitely have some successes, and this way you kind of like edge your bets, which is what you do a little bit on an allotment sometimes. I sometimes plant a variety of things, because different years you'll get slightly different climates, and other things will do better than previous years. So let's take a look at some of the trees. I believe he's got some chestnut trees as well. So that one hasn't got a name on it, so I can't tell you what that one is. But yeah, there's various trees here. Lots of various apple, pear and chestnut. If we walk up over the hill, so there's some really beautiful countryside and some really lovely things to see in Wales. Over in that direction is Lanrider, a really beautiful waterfall. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about Wales. They're the most beautiful magical waterfalls, which when we first came we couldn't believe how utterly amazing they were. And then over in that direction, over the hill, is Lake Vernery, which is just the most beautiful place. Massive lake, incredibly beautiful, lots of wildlife. So if you're a bird watcher, that's definitely the place to be, and very, very relaxing as well. So, and you can also see down, you can see the orchard just down there as well, so you've got a really good view of that. And like I said, in the description I will put some details if you wish to come and visit. They've got a beautiful annex which is really, really comfortable to stay in, and we really, really do love visiting. Feel very privileged to know them. It's definitely somewhere where you can really unwind and enjoy the countryside, and you really don't have to go anywhere. You could just stay in the cottage and just enjoy the walks and the scenery where you are. But there are some little towns nearby which are really lovely to visit. So this is an oak forest that's just been planted. So there's 140 there. As they grow, they're going to produce really good habitat for local wildlife, so that's going to be really, really good for the environment. There's going to be various areas of these all around the community interest company orchard, so there's going to be more of this being set up, but this is the first one. It's going to take a long time for it to grow, but it will grow steadily, and it will be really, really good for future generations to come.